I used to often wonder, why in the world do people get on the internet and put their business out there? Now I know, after watching videos here on YouTube and watching videos on TikTok and even Instagram, I get it. I get it. Everybody's searching for something. Everybody is looking to see where everyone else is in life. Confirmation, so to speak, validation, so to speak. I get it. I've seen some of the most realist people here on YouTube who just put it all out there just so that people can understand that it's not just you that's going through whatever it is you're going through right now. It's not just you with these problems. It's not just you with these issues. The authenticity in which I've witnessed really inspired me to come on here today and to talk about what it is I want to talk about right now. I'm almost 40 years old, right? And I barely own anything. Only thing I own are the clothes on my back, the car that I drive. I paid off 10 years ago, thank God. But that's it right there. I don't own a home. I don't own any property or anything of the sort. And I don't really have future plans. I know where I want to be. I know what I want to do, but I haven't kicked it off into motion just yet. We often get on the internet and people will say, by the time you're 30 years old, you should be here in life. You should have purchased your first house. You should have this type of car. And just for some transparency, I got a 2008 Pontiac G6. And I've had that car since I was about 24 years old, maybe. Still driving. Still driving. The biggest problem I think I've had out of that car, I had to change the alternator on it about 2 years ago. Well, yeah, about 2 years ago, I had to change the alternator on it. And other than that, the car runs just fine. I never got caught up in the status. Never been somebody that felt like I needed to keep up with people, trying to be flashy and shine, as they say, and stunt. Never felt like I needed to do that. As long as my car is getting me to point A to point B, I'm good. My wife, she has a 2015 Nissan Rogue, which is the car we primarily drive for the most part. We're trying to keep that G6 going as long as possible, There are people who will literally put these timestamps on life. You should be married by about 28. You should own your first house between 28 to 30. You should have your children before you're 30, ladies. You start getting up in the age, they always say, you're running out of time. You're not going to be able to get pregnant after a certain amount of time. Guys are not going to want you, etc. I just wish that people would stop putting time stamps on their life and recognize that everybody runs their own race and everybody will progress at the rate that they're just going to progress in. Let's just say you plant 5 seeds in the ground and then they start to sprout up, right? After a certain amount of time, watering and the sun coming down on them. They're not always going to come up at the same time. They're not. They're not always going to be as fast as others. But as long as they're growing, as long as they're moving, that is all that counts at the end of the day. And I feel like we should look at our lives the same way. Just because you're over 30 or nearly 40 years old and you don't own a house doesn't mean that you're behind in life. Just because you're 35 years old and you don't have any kids doesn't mean you're behind in life. Just because you don't drive a 2025 whatever doesn't mean that you're behind in life. We gotta stop comparing ourselves with what we see on the internet and even in our life around us. Because if you keep doing that, you'll always feel bad about where you are currently. And I know that if you're like me, you're progressing, you're moving forward, you're pursuing what it is you want. You're not there yet, but you're pursuing what it is you want at the rate in which you were meant to do it. There is no age limit when it comes to checking off the boxes. There are some people who didn't start a business until they were 50 years old. There are some people who didn't have their first child until they were 41 years old. Some people don't buy their first home until they're nearly 55 years old. Like it's a case-to-case thing. It really depends, and wherever you may be at this point in your life, that's just where you are. Because here's the fact that nobody likes to talk about or even mention is that all of us were not dealt the same cards in life. Some of us have had hard upbringings. Some of you grew up without a father. Some of you grew up without a mother. Some of you grew up without both parents. Maybe moving from house to house, foster home to foster home, from uncle to aunt to relative to friend. You know, some of us have had really, really hard lives, and the only thing in which was on our mind at that point was just surviving, just trying to make it, just trying to eat and keep a roof over our head. And we missed some of the information in which we were supposed to get coming up. You feel me? You missed out on the financial literacy. You missed out on learning about credit. You missed out on learning about stocks and bonds and things like that. Not all of us have had those conversations with our folks. I, for one, know I didn't have them conversations with my people at all. Even to this day, I got relatives right now who know stuff and they gatekeep. They gatekeep. They don't want to tell nobody nothing. They're doing this on the side and they keep it in the secret. And that's exactly why some of us are a little bit late when it comes to learning things in life. But I feel like as long as you don't swim in ignorance and you're aware that you don't know something and you're aware that other people know things that you don't, there's always that opportunity and always that chance to make yourself aware and to educate yourself, because we do live in the digital age and information is out there and we can learn things if we just apply ourselves and we just search. There's not really much you can't learn, and it is okay. I know somebody right now that's well over the age of 30 that does not have a driver's license. I'm almost 40 years old, and I only been fishing one time in my life, and that was when a good friend of mine, when I was about 13 years old. Nobody ever took me fishing. None of the males in my family even bothered to take me fishing. So I can't say that I know how to fish. I know a former NFL player sitting on millions of dollars right now who went fishing for the first time in his life. And he's 37 years old because his father never took him fishing. We gotta stop assuming that you know this and you know that because of age. Age has absolutely nothing to do with where you are currently in life. Your age is your age, and that's where it stops. But what you know, the level of intelligence in which you have acquired over the years, that right there comes along with time and it comes along with life. I don't know where you are in life right now, but I do know that you want more. because I know I want more too. Let's do all that we can to get further ahead in life. Let's do all that we can to learn what it is we need to learn so that we can progress, so that we can move forward and stop comparing ourselves to other people. There are people who are 21 years old who just bought their first house. I tell you what, if you're 21 years old and you bought your first house, I can almost promise you, you had help from your parents. There are some parents out here who have helped their kids get that jump start. Like, not all of us get that. We all don't get that. Like, I didn't get that. I hope to God I can give my kids that. That's the goal for me, is to give my children the kickstart that I didn't have. That's what I want to do for them, so they don't have to say, well, dang, man, like, you know, I'm 40 years old and I'm in this position right now, I'm in that position right now because, you know, my parents didn't teach me anything. That's not going to be my case. You know, I'm not going to take what I went through and dwell on it and then make my kids suffer because of it. You feel me? Your children should be a better version of you in every step of the way. What I want y'all to do is comment down below something you have not experienced before. I want you to let me know how old you are and what that is you haven't experienced and what you're going to do to be able to experience it at some point. No judgment here whatsoever. Look, if you're new to this channel and you feel this video, give it a like. I want you to comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Talk to y'all later. Peace.